Okay, if you followed the last 3 or 4 videos, then you've learned some basic sketching and 3D techniques. We're going to use that techniques to make what you see in this video here, a basic pulley which has a hole in it, has some additional holes for reducing weight, has some thinner sections and some thicker sections of the pulley, and finally a groove in it to pass a rope or a belt, and some nice finishing touches with some radius on the edges. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's do this from scratch. I'm gonna open a new design. I can either hit the plus button here, or I can do it from file. This time I'm gonna do it from the plus button. Open a fresh sketch, close the data panel, and I'll go through this one a little faster, so see if you can follow through since you know the basic techniques already. I'm going to start by sketching some circles with the center diameter circle method. I'm going to pick this plane. My first circle center is here. I'm just going to put in some value, let's say 150 millimeters. Enter twice. Do another circle, maybe same center, 120. A third circle, maybe around 80, and enter maybe a fourth one at about 40. Enter. It's 4 circles. Now let's see. Let's start by making this into a little bit of a 3D shape. To do that, we're going to modify it, press pull or Q. It moves into a 3D view. It says, what do you want to press or pull? I want this section and this section to be thicker. I'm going to also make it symmetric on both sides. And let's say there's about 10 millimeters thick. Okay, that's good. It is going to make a new body. As you can see in the browser, a new body will appear. There you go. Now have actually 1 or 2 bodies. You still have only 1 sketch. The sketch has gone away, so I'm gonna bring it back so that I can do some more 3D work. I'm gonna turn this body off temporarily. This time I want to again modify this one. I only want it to be not so thick, so symmetric, and let's say only about 5 millimeters. Again, it's going to make a new body. It says you can't see it because you turned the body off, so I'm going to go back and turn it on. There it is. I can also see the sketch in there. Makes it a little harder. If you want, you can switch the sketch off to see what the shape looks like. It's pretty good. Already you can see, because you did not extrude anything here, you have a hole in the middle, which is fine. That's what I wanted. Finally, I need to put a groove into the top over here. How do you do that? The easiest way to do that is to do another sketch. But where do I sketch it? So I'm gonna bring my origin back on. As you can see, this plane here, which is the green and the blue, or the YZ plane, is actually going right through the center of this part here. So I'm going to sketch something on this plane over here. So let's say sketch a line. Actually, I'm going to make a shape, but let's say line. It'll say, where do you want to sketch it? I'm gonna pick this plane. Remember, the plane passes right through the part all the way through. So I'm gonna sketch on this plane. There you go. Zoom in a little bit. This body is in the way, so I'm gonna just turn off all the bodies. What I want to do is, I know it ends here, the wheel diameter is up to here, so I want a groove in the body, in this pulley, right? So I'm gonna start from here, make the groove something like this. Try to make it symmetric. My grid snap is turned on, so as you can see, it is snapping to the grid. It's kind of symmetric. I'm going to close this with the last line so I get a shape. Escape to get out of this line command. I'm going to do one slight modification because my body is right up against this over here. I'm actually going to move this line a little bit over to the top. I can try to do that by dragging it over, and that should be enough, just slightly over the pulley. You'll see why. This is done. The sketch is done. Now turn all my bodies back on. What I am going to do with this sketch that I just made is make a cut in the pulley, but I'm going to make it go all the way around 360 degrees. So how do I do that? Here's where I can use another feature of the 3D. Turn this body off, and it is found in the sketch menu. It's called, in the create menu, it's a revolve. When I use that, it's going to ask me, what do I want to revolve? I bring the sketch back, and I have to select a profile. You can see how I can easily select this profile, and I want to cut it all around 360 degrees. Because my body is not on, I can't see it, but right now I'm going to do it like this. I have to specify which axis I want to revolve it on. So I want to revolve it on this blue axis. Let's see. Let's see what it is doing here. Let's see if that has done it or not. That did not do it, so okay, looks like it took the wrong axis. That's not what I wanted. I'm gonna go back in my step over here. I can go to the timeline and move it back to the point where before I did the revolve. And then I'm gonna try it again. So this is where the timeline comes in useful. If you want to go back to some other previous state, you can do that. Let's try again. I'm going to revolve. It says select a profile. Select that profile. Select an angle, an axis. I'm going to select this axis. There you see. Now it is revolved all around 360 degrees. It's going to cut it. And let's see how that looks. Once you cut it, I'm gonna take out all the sketches and this origin. And there you have it. It has made a groove, a pulley groove. Now the only thing remaining to do is put some circles here to lighten up the pulley. So I'm going to sketch on this plane. Circle, center diameter on this plane. And I can move in, I can pick a center point. Let's say I want 10 millimeter circles, or now maybe I can make bigger, 12 millimeter. It looks good. Hit enter. I made a circle, and I need to make circles all around. is an easy way to do that. Again, we can use in the sketch menu, there is a circular pattern. It says what do you want to make, what objects you wanna make in a circular pattern. I'm gonna pick this circle and say my center point for that is here, and automatically it puts by default 3 circles, but I can increase that quantity, make it how many ever circles I want. It'll automatically space it equally. So let's say I'm gonna have, in this case, 15 circles. Okay, so I've sketched 15 circles, and all I'm gonna do is now make those into holes. And as usual, we're gonna press or pull that, bring the sketch back. If you don't see the sketch, bring it back, and then just pick the circles. And actually you don't need to use shift, unlike what I said in the last video. You can just keep selecting all these circles, and like we did before, I'm gonna say to object. That means I want to make a hole all the way to this object, which is this face. It knows, that means it automatically understands I want to cut a holes in it, so it is switched to cut. And there you have it. So most of the work is done. Switch the sketch off. Now all I need to do is put some radiuses in there. If you remember, that is done using the fillet command. I want to fillet this edge, this edge, this edge, this edge, and similarly on the other side I want to fillet this edge, this edge, this edge, and this edge. You don't need to hold shift, you can do it without holding shift also. And give it a value. In this case I'm going to give it 1.5 millimeters and say okay. And I think we're done. We have a fairly decent looking pulley with a groove with a few holes in it to lighten it up, and a central hole, and we can save that as pulley. Done.